Redditors who have actually won a lifetime supply of something. What was the supply you won and how long did it actually last? Won a lifetime supply of mini chocolate milk cartons during a milk day at school. LOL. If you opened a carton of milk and it mooed at you, you had to call the number on it and report that you have mooing milk. That was in 2007. I'm still getting milk shipped to me. LOL. My fian drinks it because I've grown to hate milk. 18 years ago we won a lifetime of vet visits for my cat. They expected to give it to someone with an old pet, not a new kitten. The cat's still alive. The vet clinic has moved and rebranded 4 or 5 times, but they're still honoring the award. Edit. Lifetime of routine checkups. Treatments and operations still had to be covered by us. When a new tropical smoothie cafe location opened in our neighborhood, they ran a promotion for free smoothies for a year for the first 50 people in line on opening day. My husband made me stand in line for 3 hours before they opened. We were 24th and 25th in line. The free smoothies for a year was limited to 1 smoothie per week. Still, we each had 52 free smoothies. Not a bad deal. My mom almost ate the white M&M that they promoted like 25 years ago. If you find it, send it in, you get a lifetime supply of M&Ms. They sent us a voucher pack, that almost no store would take, but still managed to make it though the lifetime supply in about 1 month, granted there was 8 siblings. Prob for the best though. My dad won a lifetime supply of cat food, but A, they delivered it all at once, and B, our cats didn't like that flavor, of course. We donated it all to a local animal shelter who were super pleased. My grandparents were gifted a lifetime subscription to Reader's Digest as a wedding gift. They were offered that, or some other magazine that went out of business a decade later, so they made the right call. Being a frugal family, that subscription was utilized fully. After Grandma and Grandpa were done with each issue, it would be passed along to siblings and their kids with this little round-robin thing they did, sharing photos and updates of what everyone was up to, passed along in a manila envelope, and when it came back to you, you remove your items and put new ones in. They had been together for 62 years when Grandpa died, but RD honored the subscription an extra decade until Grandma passed. I forgot how much was paid for it, but I'm certain the gifter got their money's worth. I once worked a job that had me purchase Subway sandwiches for mobile working crews and let me keep the tickets, when you could fill the card up for free sandwiches. All the tickets were numbered and purchases valid. After 2 years I had enough tickets and receipts to redeem multiple sandwiches daily for at least 6 months if I wanted, and still accruing more. I started filling the cards and giving them to friends to eat a free lunch. Within 1 month, my friends and I were banned from every Subway in a 5-mile radius in Los Angeles. They put our pictures up on the wall and refused to honor the stamps, no matter who brought them in. Inside of another 2 years, Subway corporate cancelled the stamps altogether and no one would accept them. I couldn't even give them away to a food bank or the homeless to get a free sandwich. Thanks Subway. I didn't really win it and it was only a year's supply. But I got a year's supply of Hot Pockets when I was 17 because I bit into a Hot Pocket that had no filling and I sent them an email pretending to be my mom complaining about it. To my surprise they actually replied and sent me a golden coupon that was good for a year. I ate so many Hot Pockets that I hate them now and haven't had one since. I once waited out a McDonald's for the grand opening. The first 100 people got free fries for the year. I was number 3. It consisted of a box of 365 coupons for free medium fry. I think we gave away maybe 200 plus of them. It was maybe 13 to 14 years ago now. My mother bought a Toyota Yaris years ago and the dealership was running a Tires for Life promotion. She gets free tires whenever she needs them, but she has to do all of her maintenance work at the dealership, and the deal won't transfer if she sells the title. The dealership didn't run the promo for long, and she was told recently she's the only participant left from the promotion. Not a lifetime supply, but I won a year's supply of Chipotle entrees once. Came as a stack of 52 free burrito cards with a gilded farmer embossed on one side and a unique code on the other. At the time, they didn't limit what I put on these freebies or when I used them, so I gave away a lot to friends, family, and the occasional homeless guy and told everyone to add guac and double meat and make the most of it. I did keep one as a memento, which I still think I should frame. I know someone who won a free Gas for Life contest many years ago. They get a $100 gift card every month. I had a friend in college who won a lifetime supply of Gillette razors. They just sent him a crate of Mach 3 razors and refill cartridges and that was that. It was just a one-time shipment, but it would be hard to get through that many razors in one lifetime. 1 free movie rental from Blockbuster every week. And well, you know, I won free full body massages for life, which basically just translates to 2 massages a week. It was really good. I got addicted. I knew everyone who worked there and I got to experiment with all of them to see which were the best. Ended up fluctuating between 3 different staff towards the end. They would even train new staff on me for free because I spent so much time over there. Those training massages never cost me anything either or counted towards my 2 free massage a week limit. When the place closed down I realized just how expensive massages were. I haven't had one in ages and I miss it so bad. There is a Greek proverb, a society grows great when old men plant trees whose shade they know they shall never sit in. What are the greatest examples of this in human history? Kotoko Wamura, mayor of a village called Fude in years 1947 to 1987. The largest project of his many years is undoubtedly the 15-meter floodgate that can be lowered to shield the village from an incoming tsunami wave. During its construction and in the years after, it was largely regarded as excessive and too expensive, costing approximately $30 million in 2011 money. If you are puzzled why it is most commonly seen calculated for year 2011 in particular, I hurry to remind you. In 2011, eastern coast of Japan was battered by a massive tsunami. Villages and towns all over were destroyed with many of their inhabitants dead or missing. Fude was the only village that stood almost completely untouched thanks to the once controversial floodgate, 27 years after its construction, and 14 years after the death of Kotoko Wamura. Corrected the height, I got the numbers and units mixed up when reading up on the floodgate. It's 51 feet. Or 15,5 meters, not 51 meters. Joseph Bazalgette was a Victorian engineer who masterminded London's modern sewer system in the 1860s. He foresaw the insane population growth, and when all the calculations were made on how big to bore the pipes underground, he essentially said, now let's double it. Now, infrastructure that would have been unable to cope in the 1960s is still in use today. Japanese people aged 60 or older volunteered to fix problems in the Fukushima nuclear power plant, knowing that they would probably die of natural causes before the radiation damaged them in the long run. I don't know if they actually did it though. During the Napoleonic Wars there was a Royal Navy admiral who when on leave used to wander his country estate planting oak trees to provide timber for the Navy. It's estimated they are about ready now. A lot of the examples in this thread are ones I've heard before, though they're still great. One I don't see mentioned often is the written Korean language, Hangul. One dude, King Sejong, basically sat down and created a whole alphabet so people wouldn't have to continue using the adopted Chinese Hanja that were complicated and difficult to learn. His goal was to increase literacy among all levels of society, not just the wealthy elite who had the time and resources to learn Hanja. It received a lot of pushback from the wealth elites, of course, but following the end of Japanese colonialism in the early 20th century it gained popularity and is now the official written language in both North and South Korea. William Wilberforce. He campaigned in the British government for over 40 years to stop and prevent slavery. He was successful in abolishing the trading of slaves throughout the empire with the Slave Trade Act of 1807 and then the ownership of slaves altogether with the Slavery Abolition Act 1833. He died 3 days after hearing the Abolition Act had passed in Parliament, after a lifetime of campaigning for it. He is buried in Westminster Abbey, which is reserved for monarchs and national figures of significance. His campaign for abolition was the blueprint that other abolitionists like Lincoln soon followed up with. There are many generations living because of this man's choices. Edit, and if his good karma wasn't already high enough, he was also a founding member of the Royal Society of Prevention of Cruelty to Animals, RSPCA. The Voyager spacecraft. One of them is the only object that's left the solar system. They're still sending back data. And they're each carrying a gold record encoded with information, our planet's greeting card to the cosmos. It's hard to overstate how much that project changed humanity's knowledge of the solar system. The Voyager probes were crucial to discovering volcanoes on Jupiter's moon Io, the first volcanic activity confirmed outside of Earth. Before the Voyager mission, Earth-based telescopes thought there were only a handful of rings around Saturn. Voyager found thousands of rings there, found thin ring systems around 2 other outer planets, found dozens of moons, and more other information than one comment can do justice to. NASA is still planning future missions based on information the Voyager spacecraft discovered. If alien life gets discovered on Europa or Titan, you can thank the Voyager engineers and scientists. Most of them could have earned far more money in the private sector. Being part of this effort was their dream job. And they won't see this work through to the end. They can't. Voyager began the planning stages 50 years ago. Human lives just aren't long enough. And they knew it. Edit. There's a fully functional third Voyager craft that was never launched. NASA built it and kept it on Earth for engineers to use in troubleshooting if the two Voyager probes in outer space ever ran into unexpected problems. That third Voyager craft spends most of the time on display at NASA's Jet Propulsion Laboratory facility in California, in the Von Karman Auditorium. Every year in the month of June, JPL conducts tours open to the public. For security reasons they can't let a whole lot of people on site, but the tour itself is free. Applications opened on April 3. JPL is usually described as in Pasadena, but it's actually in the smaller nearby city of La Caada Flintridge. If you can snag a ticket, you'll spend part of the tour face-to-face with that third Voyager craft, and you might also get to see JPL's moon rock. The Cassini family map, a first-of-its-kind map of France. It took 4 generations of family members and 6 decades to complete. Imagine being that second family member. Your whole life your father works on this map, only for you to work your whole life on it while raising your son to do the same, and it takes a whole nother life for it to be completed. In a very literal sense, the landscape gardens of Capability Brown. He carefully crafted these gardens, directing the planting of trees and bushes to create a beautiful vista, where it would take decades for the plants to actually grow to fulfill his vision. Norway's sovereign wealth fund. That generation could have taken a selfish view and just taken the cash, or politicians just gone on a vote-buying spree. But it's independently invested and managed for the benefit of future generations. King Afonso III of Portugal started the plantation of pine in Leiria in the 13th century, which is now known as the Pinhal de Leiria, with the intent of stopping the advancement of sand dunes. It was then expanded to its current size by King Dinis between 1279 and 1325. And it's said that every time they cut trees, they would plant some more, so it would never disappear. Besides this great role in stopping the dunes, and thus protecting the agricultural areas, the Pinhal de Leiria is most known for supplying the wood used in the ships during the Portuguese discovery period, which ushered the country into its greatest period of prosperity. It may have not been planted with that objective, but the kings that did it over many decades, did it knowing that they wouldn't get many benefits in their lifetime, and it coincidentally ended up being of great importance centuries later. And in 2017, 86% of it was burned down in forest fires, and because our government is incompetent, it is basically all destroyed still, with less than 50% of the burned area being replanted, and most of it being replanted by the normal plant growth that happens, not by any government action. Roosevelt and national parks. If he never did what he did, there wouldn't be any today. Corporate greed would have wiped it all out. Public infrastructure. People got to live to see the opening of one rail line or bridge, or several, but the integrated network of public infrastructure, that took 100 years to grow and is still growing. The giant cathedrals in Europe like Notre Dame would take over 100 years to build. So the person who started building it would work their whole life on it and know they wouldn't be alive to see it complete. That's not a Greek proverb. It's the invention of a 20th century Quaker writer, whose creation was appropriated in the 1990s by politicians in the United States Congress. They added the byline, Greek proverb, to make themselves seem more intelligent. Florida state is attempting to make child rape punishable by death. Do you think child rape warrants a death penalty? Why or why not? A lawyer once told me if rape and murder both have the death penalty, then rapists will be more likely to kill the victim to try and hide their tracks since the punishment is the same. Edit. Why is my most upvoted comment about rape? As someone who has survived CSA, no. You immediately make it harder for victims to come forward, especially when you consider that most perpetrators of CSA are close family members, followed by close family friends and people in positions of authority and leadership over the child. These are people that children have very strong feelings for. And those feelings are very easily manipulated to force a child into silence already. Imagine throwing being responsible for that adult's death if they say something onto the table as well. It would ruin a child. I lived through I love you and you love me. If you tell anyone, they won't let you see me anymore, and it will be your fault. Now ramp that up to if you tell anyone, they'll kill me and it will be your fault. I'd never have come forward. Edit typo. Edited more than once because emotions make for bad typing skills. Edit. It's time for me to spend a few hours away from Reddit, but for those sharing similar stories, your story won't go unseen. I'll be back tomorrow to read more and talk with you all. I see you, your feelings are valid, and I thank you for engaging in this really important discussion. I don't trust the government enough to give them the ability to kill citizens. The goal of this law is to get the Supreme Court to allow the death penalty for more crimes that aren't homicides. How far down the criminal severity ladder are we comfortable going with the death penalty? No. The death penalty has been proven to be more expensive than life imprisonment and also does nothing to deter crime. In addition, this puts the child in an awful situation, where they know if they come forward that person, who could very well be a family member, will be killed. The guilt of that may make it less likely that children come forward. No. It's never a good idea to give the government permission to kill its citizens. I don't believe in the death penalty. If you do, you have to accept one of two things. Either 1. The state never makes mistakes, or 2. The state occasionally kills innocent people. Edit. Okay, too many comments now, so I'm not gonna respond anymore. Just wanna make it clear, I'm not saying that no one should be punished for anything, or that the state doesn't kill people all the time. My points above are specifically for whether I support the death penalty or not. Edit 2. Lots of bloodthirsty people in this thread. Edit 3. If you are pro-death penalty, then watch this. I do not believe in the death penalty for anyone. I also wouldn't be particularly upset if a child rapist died. Most importantly, in today's world, I do not trust the politicians of Florida to accurately determine who is and isn't a child rapist. The problem with the death penalty isn't what crime is or isn't deserving of it. It's that you can get the wrong people. The government having this unilateral control to execute people is not good. This is a bad and loaded question. Speaking as a survivor of child sexual abuse. Revenge isn't justice. People are really showing their bloodlust in this thread. A person deriving satisfaction from the torture and killing of other people seems to me to be a predatory behavior on par with any other lust for violence. I don't believe in the death penalty, but if I did, I can think of no better candidate. No, it would be bad public policy because it would mean more dead victims. If the crime is death, either way some will kill their victims so they can't testify. For 100% clear-cut cases of child rape? Sure. Throw M to the fucking wolves. But how many cases are going to be like that? And given the direction Florida is going, how long before it becomes a broader child abusers get the death penalty? Then it becomes anyone who talks to a child about anything trans is a child abuser. This new law is a broadly acceptable first step in a larger and far darker quest. It should be pointed out that it is not just child rape but child sex abuse and pedophilia. Florida is also attempting to ban drag shows and criminalize drag in public and ban children from attending drag shows. So if a child is exposed to someone in drag, it would be classified as a child sex crime. So in that context you could see how this could be used to criminalize drag and trans expression into a sex crime against children. I have a feeling this is less about protecting kids and more about penalizing LGBTQ folks.